into our game number 1 between Serral and Zoun. In the top left-hand side of the map, our red Protoss player is going to be Zoun from Alpha Rex. And he is up against the blue Zerg, Serral. Again, a bit of a preface. Maybe this is on YouTube. If it is, hello YouTube. Maybe drop a sub or something, or like the video if you enjoy the cast by the end of it. Always goes a long way. Or leave a comment. A bit of a preface. This is the Korean Server Qualifier for ASUS ROG this year. Serral not invited because he had a weak performance in the first DreamHack of the year, means he doesn't have enough ESL Pro Tour points. The top 4 invites on ESL Pro Tour points outside of Korea were Clem, Raynor, Hero Marine, and Neeb actually has more points than Serral as well. So Serral very, very kind of out of the rankings at the moment, unfortunately. And that does hurt him a little bit. And that means he had a chance to qualify. And the Korean Server Qualifier is just the first qualifier to come around. Anyone's allowed to play in any qualifier. It's just going to be held on that server. So Serral is here playing with the ping against Zoun, who will have no ping, basically. And that's going to be Serral's disadvantage. Of course, the EU qualifier still happens tomorrow as well. So I'm sure we'll see Serral in that. If he doesn't qualify in the Korean one, which he probably won't, it's going to be very tough anyways. He's in the lower bracket. Only one player qualifies out the lower bracket, etc., etc. He's got players such as Bjorn, Zest, Solar potentially ahead of him. So it's going to be very tough. I mean, possible, but very difficult, especially with the ping. So, yeah, well, I'm basically just a little bit of a preface. Again, Serral will be playing with ping here. I don't think that this is his last chance. He will be able to try and qualify in the other qualifiers if he wants to. All that kind of stuff, you know? Anyone know how much prize money ended up being for yesterday's tournament? $2,800 is the prize, is the final prize pool. Freaking incredible. Raised by Twitch chat. It was genuinely crazy yesterday. Yesterday was actually just wild. If you missed it, guys, well, I don't even know what to say. Go watch the VOD or something. Yesterday was just mental. We raised across mine and Roddy's stream, we raised $5,500 for, well, basically the ESL Open Cup got cancelled. So we both ran we decided to join up and run a tournament, $100 each, and 50% of our donations would go to the prize pool. And yeah, you guys really went kind of crazy. It was ridiculous. What a day. Like I said, $2,800 the final prize pool of yesterday's event. Alright, Voidray, going to be popping out in a moment or two. Chase down this Overlord. Not surprised to see Zoun open in Stargate, but he will switch straight into the Twilight Council. That I find a little bit more interesting. Void Oracle obviously can deny some scouting and then move this into a Resonating Glaives that'll be hard to know is coming. And we'll see if Serral can deal with that. I like this idea of being aggressive early. It's the kind of thing that does punish you for having the higher ping, right? We're coming back down the center. Obviously, Glaives is starting, and the Roach Roaring is already coming up as well. So yeah, when Glaives gets going, we kind of know where this kind of build takes us to. We kind of know the direction this leads towards, so not really too surprising in that regard just yet. Oh my goodness, sorry. The Oracle gets a couple kills, but very nearly went down, just about surviving at the end. Good job, Oracle, staying alive on that one. Void Ray still chilling out in the center. It's going to be seeing the Nexus set up as well. Of course, here come our Adepts now. Queen's kind of moving forward. He's building a lot of roaches. One thing I will say is, I guess, against the Adepts, outside of the movement between bases, I suppose, if you do just get the right units up, you can somewhat just defend against this. And so in that way, maybe Serral can set up nicely. Nice wall off, actually. Going to really limit where the Adepts can go. Something that Serral's been doing consistently against Adepts since Cess brought out the 4-gate Adept play back in Katowice of 2019. Obviously, he messed up against us in that semi-final, and he missed his wall off at one point after relying on the wall to defend. Obviously, this is a different build, etc. nowadays, but the idea is there, creating this full wall off and the door. He actually made like a door in his main base, right? Like he walled and then had like a spore crawl that he unburrowed and reburrowed. It's a bit of a different idea, but in general, he's always been someone to try and just deny Adepts getting to where they want to be, rather than playing around the Adept. You know what I mean? Rather than playing around like in a different kind of way, you know? Queens and Ravages making their way up to the top as the Adepts and Void and Oracle ready to defend against this. Well, Stack defense isn't ready just yet, so Serral launched the counterattack pretty quickly. This is mostly Adepts, and I will always say that the Adepts don't have like a ton of damage output against all these units, but maybe they can sustain for a long time. I mean, Ravage is already on top of these batteries, so batteries already being dropped. There's one battery in the back that will be the most likely candidate for an overcharge. And it will be the battery to receive that, but it gets piled down almost instantly as well, and Serral just on top of this base of Zoun. What a response to this Adept setup. I mean, the Adepts did nothing. They backed away, and now they're being forced to be used defensively, which, like I say, just never is really ideal. From more bars, the last battery is going to be drained of energy. Protoss units will continue to die now, and the bars continue to be very, very well placed as Serral just moves through this side of the map without any issues at all. A couple more bars coming down. Queens get the Void Ray, 9 drones test, 9-10 probes killed. A Disruptor shows up, but it's going to die, and obviously that's something you're meant to keep alive to at least get a second shot off with. First shot was good, just obviously then letting it die is a bit of a shame. Second Disruptor's on the way up, but Roach Ravager might be on top of that before anything else. Looks as though we probably will get the Disruptor out, so it will fire, and obviously Serral's in a bit of a weird spot to try and split away. Only a Roach and a Ravager, considering the setup, is not bad, I would say. And now this Disruptor's move commanding through as well. I wonder what Zoun's doing for those Disruptors to be rallying out so weirdly. That's very strange in my eyes. We are going to be seeing Zoun typing GG and Serral picking up game number 1. Prince to the rescue for Serral in the last game as Zoun kinda couldn't do much about it, as Zoun is the red Protoss top right. Again, that's kind of the power of PvZ, I suppose, as Serral in the bottom left have blue Zerg. PvZ is a very strategic matchup, and in a strategic matchup, the ping, the latency between the servers just is that a little bit less of an effect when Serral is playing on Korea, of course. So I feel like that's been very apparent. Serral doesn't have to dictate a lot of his styles by by the ping, whereas in the TvZ earlier, it's very apparent that he's playing to the ping of the matchup, right? Game 2 then. Let's see what Zoun comes out with. I don't even know what you change up. I don't know what you go for the best. Like, I don't know if there's a build specifically, which is like, oh yeah, maybe Serral would struggle with this, specifically because, cross-server, etc., yada yada. I really don't know if that's a thing, in PvZ. Like I say, it's something that maybe forces you to micro a lot, but the thing is as well, there's only so much micro you put in on the Zerg side of things when you're playing like roach-based defenses and so on. So yeah, I'm not really sure. Maybe if you try to play for the super late game, and then a lot of the spell casting stuff may become harder for Serral, and then maybe that's why you take your win. But that's very scary to go into super late game against Serral, right? So that's a tough one. Yo, a couple of shoutouts real quick. Pinguts just dropped us with the 4-month resub on the Prime. Says Twitch wants me to share this. Well, thank you so much. And DamX dropped a Prime sub as well before this series started. Sorry for the delayed thank you, but thank you very much nonetheless. I appreciate it. Yeah, Creator won a game against Serral earlier, and what Creator did to win a game was he just had a very good opening. Adept harassment was difficult for Serral to clean up. Just 2 Adepts, right? And then Oracle came in, killed some workers. He got a good eco position. Serral kind of set up to be aggressive, but, you know, Creator just had, like, a good ground army, Immortal Archon. Serral had to back it up, try to play a longer game. Eventually, Immortal Archon beats Roach Ravager Queen, right? So, yeah. How many games of the Korean qualifiers are being played tomorrow? This is our last game of the day. So this round that we're in right now is the last round played today. Which I believe means like 3 or 4 rounds of action tomorrow in the Korean qualifier. If I'm not mistaken. Let's see what Serral does. I mean, Oxide as well. Another map you can queen walk on. So there's already a Void Ray to start us off. So I'm not trying anything too tricky or too weird. Just gonna see how Link Speed finishing up. Oracle is starting. Overlord will go down as the Captors, just escort a probe out to the 3rd base. There's a single Ling here. Mostly just wants to see if that 3rd comes up, which he will. So I guess perfect read on the timing of the 3rd base. So just making a few more Lings, just readying himself for what could be some potential Adept pressure. It's the kind of thing you just want to be ready to deal with pretty much right away, you know? Ling's still nibbling at the rocks as the Void Ray comes through. I'm just going to pick away at a couple of Lings there. So 1 Ling going down already. Better creep spread being cleaned out. It's just going to be our 2nd Stargate. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think it's the right call. I think honestly, I think playing something focused later in the game is maybe better overall. Obviously, you still have the wonder if Serral is just going to attack you and try and kill you, right? I mean, there's only so much you can do about that, but I think the intentions here from Zoun are the right ones to maybe set himself up well. 3 drones being picked off, and 3 probes going to transfer from base to base. Nothing too crazy on that. Things get pushed back. Queen's going to come through. And the Queen's just going to push that Void Ray out into the center. Oracle does get chased away. Again, Twilight, couple probes, Voids. All the good stuff coming up. So Twilight is coming down. Obviously, we'll open the follow-up setup. It's not going to be a Robo. Now, the Robo has been the go-to a lot of the time lately, where you build into them Disruptors quickly, use that defensively. Because it's a Twilight, we're going to focus more on charge and probably a Temple Archives, Archons. Serral ain't going to Queen Walk, though, so I mean, it ain't so bad. He starts a Spire and a Hydra Den. Interesting, because now you actually see the Spire with the Oracle. But if he actually has the Hydra Den in play, then he's obviously maybe going to be able to force some Phoenix from his opponent, when in fact he's going to end up with Hydras, and that could be problematic for Zoun. Zoun, who only has 4 Voids in total, so actually Spire would not be so bad. Meters would be better this game than they were in the last, and in the last they were still very good. As these Voids are forced to back away. Does Serral actually get close enough for the kill here? Not quite. The Void is just able to slip out of there without going down. Now those few Lings will move out across the map, so just Serral taking some map control of his own. Lings back around the right-hand side. A couple of Voids are still coming up. I'm just going to be seeing our little bit of damage being done. So some Lings getting chased away. Temple Archives coming through. Robo Facility setting up. And I'm just going to see a few extra gates coming down as well. So all of this getting underway right now. I'm also going to be seeing our drones coming in. Queen's putting some damage out onto this Oracle, which finally goes down. It got a few drones before it fell. Obviously, that's the last revelation for a little bit, though. So you're not going to be able to keep good track of this Hydra army. This is a Hydra timing, guys. There's no drones on the way up to saturate the 4th base as it finishes. This is just going to be Serral moving across the map with these Hydras, 66 drones, and aiming for one big attack. He's got to go sooner rather than later, though. Again, he built this spire as a complete fake, you know, and Zoun never saw initially the Hydra Den either. He only saw the spire, but he never felt like he responded to the spire. Now the Hydras are coming with the Queens, and we obviously are going to see what the defense looks like. I tell you what, Zoun's going to have a lot of stacked defense on the third, but if Serral comes around this right side or down these rocks and puts himself here and he works up into the natural, yeah, you're going to need stacked defense here too, and that's only just now starting. Disruptors on the way as the Robo Bay is done. I would say this is starting to look like a very good setup for Zoun to be able to defend. Don't walk your Banelings into the rocks. One Baneling connected there. Bane speed finishes. If these Banes can go up the left side and maybe just bust through as well, that's a good potential to deal damage because they can bust through the stack defense really quickly. I think that's where Serral's going to go. He's going to send some Banes onto this wall off, and that means he's in on the natural as well, so Fuelings and Banes will cause chaos. Now the force field is laid from Zoun. He's going to try and recall across toward the third base with the Disruptors, as it was a little bit of a trade out over there already. 25 probes going down as Serral is trying to back it up a little bit, but now these Queens are on their own. Big Disruptor shots. The Queens are gone. Serral is trying to deal with Zealots back at home as part of his problem. But you just lose out on the Roach Warren. Well, he's not built any Roaches, so not the biggest of deals there, but yeah, Serral's starting an infestation pit. He's realizing that Zoun has the defense necessary to keep this game alive, and Zoun is going to be able to take this game to the next stage, which is exactly what Zoun's been setting up for, while Serral has not been, so hence Zoun advantage. Next is on the right side. Just going to see the Lingbane Hydra coming back through the south. Archons, Voids, Zealots, and Disruptors pushing through down the bottom side as well. Just going to be seeing the Hydra Bane setting up a little bit also. Just going to be seeing our Disruptors still in production. Extra high Templar warping in, Zealots on the way through. A couple of Disruptors coming out as we move down this right-hand side. Zealot, Archon, Void Ray, Disruptor. Just going to see the couple of Disruptors heading out into the center. Zealot's going to go on the left-hand side. We're going to hit this hatchery. We are going to move down the right. These Zealots scaring the Balins into backing away for a moment or two. Serral's got an okay army supply. Remember, he cut drones initially as well, so he really is in big-time recovery mode from that attempted Hydra attack earlier that just didn't work out, didn't do enough. Looking for a good fight here, and a good fight can absolutely help him, but of course, Zoun has the Disruptors to lean on. They should be able to dictate a little bit of how this fight goes as well. As we do see our Zealots chased away by Lings over the left side, so yeah, I mean, for the moment, Serral's still setting up alright, kinda. I mean, he doesn't quite have a maxed out army just yet. Zoun building into carries, and of course, in the long term, Serral is absolutely still in trouble. Ooh! Big Disruptor shot just land on the Hydras. This one's gonna hit too. Okay, nice split at the end from Serral. Deals with that pretty reasonably. Honor of Lord already getting picked off. Just going to be seeing the Lingbane around the left-hand side. I mean, Serral does need to be the one maybe making some plays, so a run-by might be cool. I feel like these Banes could actually do something. Some Lingbane on that third base might be neat, but he's maybe focusing fully on just trying to survive this incoming attack. He's got Vipers. I assume he's maybe looking for some Abducts. Oh my god, the Disruptor shot's going to go in towards Lingbane. He does get couple kills on the Disruptors, or stop the Disruptor shots from firing dead center on that. Oh, the Banelings, though. Parasitic bombs on the Void Rays, by the way, too. Hurting those as Zoun gets pushed back, but Zoun's also the play with a huge bank in comparison to what Serral is working with right now. Making a big difference. Cells will charge down, lots of drones being killed off, Hatchery in some trouble. Serral, he's not even going to take the full-on army fight before he types GG, and Zoun ties this up 1-1. Game 3, final game of the day, I think, for us. At least for this tournament, like I said. ESL Open Cup EU is tonight, guys. I got moved from yesterday. I might jump in the later rounds of it, depending on how my night is going. Depending on how long it is, or, where it's at when I can jump in. I do have some prior commitments tonight, so it is just, I don't know if I can't promise I'm going to be there. It really just depends on how the day goes, So, yeah, it just kind of depends a little bit on how the day goes, depends on all of that, as you do get an assimilator up on the main base. Serral's tilted. I don't think Serral's tilted. He even tweeted not expecting much, or not expecting to go very far when he said he was playing a day. I think he knows. It's one of those things, like, you're playing cross server. He's probably pretty confident he'll be able to qualify on Europe as well, like, this is kind of a little bonus or something for him, right? So, I don't think he's like, oh my god, I can't win anymore, Protoss, rah. He knows the situation. I think it'd be a silly series to get tilted over, A little bit silly. Rope comes back in, nibbles up the mineral line just a little bit. Kind of intrigued to see where Serral and Zoun will take this game 3. It's Blackburn. As far as Blackburn goes as a map, it's no game map for attacking into, as I said. You got lots of open areas into the bases to work from and stuff, and a couple different pathways. Not a lot. I would say it's pretty easy to be in position as the Protoss, but, say you're already going to be in position on other maps anyway. This map is then nice for having that kind of open area into these bases which are opened out, etc. So that definitely can maybe help you. I mean, sometimes, obviously, some players do like to queen walk on this map. It's not always great. You obviously end up down here, and then there's quite a way to go to get up here, but you can push up into the natural too if you want to go up a ramp. Serral's obviously played a counter kind of attack from the Adepts. The Adepts came first, and then he countered that, or counter queen walked against that as a follow-up. And then last game, he obviously went for the Hydra bust, and that really didn't kind of work at all. Zoun was very well prepared, stack defense was ready, disruptors were up. And obviously Serral tried to transition out, but it was a lost cause at that point. Voidray will be Chrono boosting out of the Stargate, going to be aimed at that Overlord already. Overlord gets cleaned out by a Voidray. Obviously, this is the interesting part of what Zoun's doing. Every single one of his games so far up to this point has pretty much looked the same. And obviously then it has been different between Game 1 and 2. Will we see difference in Game 3 as well? Well, drops the Nexus. Are we going to see +1 air weapons and a second Stargate? Perhaps we will. The thing is as well, obviously, he did go Twilight pretty quick last time. And didn't go for the Robo super quickly. And that's something you could maybe switch up with this time as well. It's another way you can maybe mix this up slightly. There is +1 air weapons, there is the second Stargate. I think we were not really surprised to see that being the setup at all. This Oracle comes right across the map here. It's going to keep on flying through. A couple more Overlords just going to be popping out shortly. Do you have the Voidray pulling back a little bit? And that Zergling is going to get taken down. Hey, Fluffy Ops, thank you very much for the $5. It's $5 to keep the tourneys going. Thank you so much for the donation. I really appreciate it, as a feeling is going to nibble onto the rocks and just clean up a bit of space, clean up some openings. Rocks are always going to be your worst enemy as a Zerg. You always are going to be more focused on the ground and stuff, right? And being able to move between your bases is going to be more important than the Protoss army, which at this point is going to be based in the sky as well, just being able to fly over that. Yeah, Zoun's actually just going to repeat his build from game number 2. Obviously, it should look different in the end of this, because not necessarily from Zoun, but from Serral, because Serral ain't going to go for the same bust again. It didn't work last game. I don't imagine you repeat that here this time around when you're playing against the exact same thing, right? I imagine this, in fact, looks very different. As the +1 gets set up as well. I'll pop that Void Ray and damage out onto that hatchery. Hatchery is going to fall. Robo facility coming through, a few extra gateways continuing in. These Zerglings get on the center, not a big deal. At least they know where the Void Rays are at. Again, it's a very low Void Ray count from Zoun. He cuts at 4 to go into all of this other tech and to be prepared for whatever comes next. Adding on a ton of gateways right now. I wonder if we see a bit of an explosion of gateway units and pushing across the map with that and maybe trying to make something happen. Possible. Gonna go back into Void production now too, so once he's got all the other tech underway, he's gonna say, okay, time to keep beefing up that Void Ray count. So that's why Zoun takes this. I mean, Serral's just going straight at Hive, so very different setup to before. Oh my god, how many people are gonna ring the doorbell today? This is like the fourth time it's rung in the last 2 hours. Sorry guys, the doorbell makes a long singing sound, because otherwise I don't hear a normal doorbell during my while casting, so just usually there's the point where I run off and go and answer. I'm like, who the heck are you? But today it's actually alright, because the girlfriend is home looking after the puppy. So we can cast Starcraft. Robo Bay and the Robo Facility coming through. So as that comes up, Serral just goes into Hive and Aspire. Just ready. I mean, both players are kind of saying, yeah, let's kind of play late game. I mean, these Voids are going to show up, and obviously we'll fly over crew to get anywhere. You can see, obviously, like I say, Serral plays Hydras, so that's similar to the last game, but it's not the same as what he did last game, because last game, like I say, he was very bust, focused. He was looking to attack. He was looking to break through. He was looking to deal damage. That's obviously just not the case this time around. This time it's much more macro focused, much more late game focused. And honestly, the Hydras felt like a very kind of passing thing as well. Like, he's built like 12 Hydras, and now it looks as though he's just going to keep on going on from there. As the Ling's getting to surround on a few rocks. And Hydra's going to go and pick off the rest of that. So again, opening up the map, as always, good for a Zerg player. Ultra's Cavern coming through. The Spire is setting up as well. ZvP is finishing up. A couple of High Templar have just finished morphing, which obviously means a few more Archons now. But Serral, way off being max. I don't think he ever really wants to be aggressive here. He's still just opening rocks, maybe feigning the idea of attacking in, but the reality is, until he's max, he shouldn't be looking for a fight at all. In fact, kind of equal supplies right now is not generally good for a Zerg, so... Then again, he's stacking up money, and I imagine this might be because he wants to add on some Ultras. He's also going to tech into a Greater Spire. Serral kind of just doing a little bit of everything at the moment. Viper's going to continue to consume up on the Extractor, get some energy rolling. 4 Ultras, and then Greater Spire coming in. Obviously, then if you're going to go into this, you're going to need Corruptors at some point. Now, the Greater Spire is one of those things where sometimes you do just build it as kind of like a, oh, well, I might need this somewhere down the line, rather than I definitely want Broodlords. In this game, I actually wouldn't mind the Greater Spire being put to use, because, hey, there's barely any carriers, right? Although there is no carriers. There's not a lot of air focus, so the Broods could be pretty good against this ground-focused army. And Serral goes abducting, looking for some early kills and some initial trade-outs. Second Spire, so we are going to get into air upgrades as well. There's obviously a few Voids up, so 5 Voids are okay against, like, Broods and Corruptors, but obviously it's not, like, a huge force. I actually even just, like, if these 5 Corruptors morph into Broods, I actually wouldn't even hate that. And then maybe you add some more corruptors behind it as you trade out armies. I actually think that'd be pretty decent. Observer gets shot down out the sky again. Again's going to roll on through. These Zealots going to keep on striking. Ooh, Disruptor shot hits the Ultras. Ultras do get chunked down by Disruptors, but obviously will take a few to actually kill the Ultras, so better than other things. As they do yoink the Prism Force, that will go down. These Hydras want to try and get rid of these last couple of Voids. They just about get away. Big fight for Serral. Massive fight for Serral, really, who instantly is rebuilding. And now Zoun has to rebuild a lot of ground forces, afraid of Serral's follow-through. And hence, this Broodlord play from Serral is going to be even more effective, because now Zoun can't just focus on rebuilding air units up. Nuh-uh. Like I say, you kind of got to focus on the ground a little bit. So that's obviously looking to be a big deal. Just going to be seeing the forces out the left side from Zoun as he will settle down and rebuild a little bit. I mean, like I say, Serral's got these broods up. He's going to go full in counterattack. Just an awful fight for Zoun. Look how quickly everything went down. Really felt like the Disruptors, like I say, they hit the Ultras a bit, and while it does clunk the Ultra HP down quite effectively, it doesn't kill them off, and those Ultras were able to really stand and put some damage out for a long time too. Nothing really got rid of them. I feel like that was maybe even just like a lack of Immortals before too, right? A couple of Immortals in there, and these Ultras are dying so much faster. Zoun will remax before we fight again. But as I said before, my worry is really about these Broodlords, because I don't know if Zoun is really prepared to deal with Broodlords still. You know, that's still what I think about when I look at Zoun's current army. A handful of Voids, a couple Archons, it's a very tough ask to deal with Broodlords right now. He doesn't even have a fleet beacon, so he's really not set for the later game air units that would typically put you into a better place against this. Broods are still dropping down onto these couple of cannons. Cannons taking some hits, Void's still coming through, and Broods will be... Well, one of them zapped down already. Disruptor shot's going to hit a couple Queens, which is nice, but now these Disruptors have walked forward again. I don't know what's... I mean, Zoun had this on the light shade game as well, where Disruptor would fire and then would just move command forward after. Not sure what control he's doing there to kind of make that happen, but it's unusual. It's not meant to happen as frequently as it's happening, at least. A nice counterattack is going to see some Zealots showing up on the gold base. A few Lings will try and deal with it, but I think the Zealots will be good to fight those Lings off, and then the Hydras from the other side will just finish it up. Serral's still pushing through the Broodlords. However, those Broods are somewhat exposed now. They're kind of on their own because the Hydra's all pulled back. Serral's just kind of everywhere, man. He's going to send Hydra Ultra over here to deny some gold base mining. The Voids are going to make their play. Parasite Bomb goes down. Remember that those Void Rays are actually kind of lower HP than usual because they were already blasted by Parasite Bombs previously. Yep, that's the end of all of the Void Rays. We do see a couple of feedbacks coming through on Vipers, but I mean, they kind of got their abilities off. They did not need to stick around longer than they already did. So I was going to pull away to the bottom right a little bit. More Hydras coming through to the top side where they're going to be able to sit behind a gold base. Tell you what, Serral, I mean, obviously denying the gold base mine helps. He's still just kind of rallying with the same stuff. He's getting spores underneath these broods, though, so that obviously helps, too. This Nexus will go down, but then I guess I beg the question of, if that's all dead, obviously Zoun can go and defend elsewhere, and does that maybe give him some better chances? Is it harder for Serral to push elsewhere on this map, or is he okay to just sort of go a bit deeper onto the, you know, well, he'd have to expand the creep further, but then is he okay to just go deeper into Zoun's territory, if that's where he needs to be? Possibly. Broods coming through, doing pretty well. The Ultra coming across. We do see the Ultra going to do pretty fantastic at putting some focus on him. I mean, didn't really do too much. Broods do move up here. The creep isn't here yet, so it's a little riskier, and especially because if these Voids commit, I guess we got kind of corruptors now that we didn't really have before. Before it was really just the Queens. Looks like this gold base is going down as well. This has just been a continuous push from Serral. That right now is not really being dealt with at all. Free Tempest on the way out. I mean, Tempest would be actually great, but of course, Zoun was so preoccupied trying to save stuff and trying to just keep himself alive before going into Tempest didn't feel like it was much of an option. And he originally didn't have the fleet beacon either, so He had to wait for that, but it's also been, the fleet beacon's been up for a while that he hasn't been built in Tempest too, so just kind of so preoccupied trying to deal with everything. As you do see Broodlord still firing down and Archon going down as well. Tempest shot on the Corruptor, other Broodlings going in, and yeah, just really keeping everything in a bit of a tough space. I see a nice abduct right there, and that's a Tempest, which takes a lot of damage. One more abduct, and a Tempest goes down. And if Serral just needs to pick away at units little by little like this, that's exactly what he will do. Serral is never the player to rush into, you know, trying to end the game. So he will just pick away and chip away. He's got a lot of money. He's got his entire side of the map. The only thing I'd like to see from Serral is maybe this 12 o'clock base being taken. Obviously, eventually, if the Protoss can hold out and trade out, well, in this case, Serral's being super efficient, so it doesn't really ring true. But usually, if the Protoss eventually gets to mine for more of their bases, you want to mine for more bases as the Zerg. Like I said, in this case, it might not. In this game, it might not be the case, but still, I feel like this base is not a bad one to take. You got 7k minerals. Put some drones on it. You've got map control right now. Just mine from it and take that option away from the Protoss, and just solidify your positioning in the game. Should this really draw out to a much later stage? And that really is my only possible complaint as these couple of Banes come through. Connecting in on probes, zealots, and obviously some more economy of Zoun will be dropping. Zoun could just rebuild army. Like, if he just cuts probes and he just spends his money on purely army, that could be pretty neat. The immortal counterattack down here actually gets found and chased down. Yeah, if you just rebuild pure army, maybe you get to such a high army supply, it becomes almost impossible for Serral to really fight that effectively in any way. Few more Broods still working their way up. Corruptors and Vipers all joined up. That's a nice little yoink in for a first Tempest kill. A Broodlord goes down for it, and another one goes down as well. No, just didn't die quite yet. He does kill that Nexus off, as now he'll just back away. And again, Serral's in a position where he can afford to trade out a couple units for the sake of killing off a base, because anytime he denies a base, and he's trading somewhat effectively right now, he's just mining way more than Zoun. I mean, I've already said it once and twice. Zoun's now actually had your money. Before I was talking about how he had like 2k to maybe rebuild back up with, but now that money's gone, so now he's only getting what he's mining. There's a Lingbane Hydra Force looking to fight here, but that's Archons and Cannons. And will probably not do too much as Serral. Yeah, like I said, I mean, it's slow going, but it's the right thing to do. There's no reason to rush into this, and Serral's very confident about his late game control as well, right? So, especially if you're confident in your late game control, there really is no reason to switch it up much further than that, right? If you're confident in it, just keep playing it. And so far, it's definitely been the case, as these Corruptors do get 2 more Tempests. They need a couple of Storms. It's fine, they'll regenerate. Still cancelling that gold base, just not letting that happen. At a point where the main and natural are mined out, you can already see a lot of probes that just aren't going to do anything here. A third which has very sparse amount of resources left on it. And a top left base, which is the freshest of all, and that's why he's putting so much into position to defend here. Cannons and Archons obviously are extremely important. If you don't defend that top left base, you do not have this economy, and you actually really do just run out of stuff you can build with, so... Yeah, I mean, meanwhile, Serral's adding on Infestors and Neuroparasites. He's getting even better and better answers to what Zoun is setting up for. Poking forward, a Microbial Shroud goes down. It was fun to see a bit of Microbial. These Infestors just kind of walked into the storm, dropping a Fungal there. Oh my god, how are they alive? Infestors, please, it's not fair. Parasite Bomb going down, maybe drop another Fungal or so. I mean, Serral's losing a fair amount here, as, I mean, it wasn't the prettiest of fights, quite frankly, but he's also got the money to rebuild, where Zoun does not. 5 Ultras, 11 Corruptors. Okay, that definitely wasn't the prettiest fight for Serral, but Zoun lost a lot too. Like I say, look at the army graph. Compared it to before, when Zoun lost like a ton of stuff, and Serral lost a bit, but kind of recovered. Yeah, now they lose Serral a bit more than Zoun, and the bounce back is really the story. As Zoun comes pushing basically on his all-in attempt to somewhat end this game, the only way Serral loses this right now is if he can't actually deal with the army of Zoun at any point in time. Like, if this army is actually just unkillable, and that shouldn't happen though, right? I mean, Serral, he does lose this top base. He lost a few brutes. So he's got a bit more money to spend before he's maxed out. He's got the lava. Maybe he just wants to pick what his composition is exactly going to look like here. And Zoun at least will take this as a chance to get the gold base up. Serral still hasn't spent money, by the way. As he chases into this, oh my god, he's going to force a recall. He actually chased into that, but I mean, genuinely, he just hadn't spent all of his money, and he still hasn't. He's at 173 supply. Is he wondering what Zoun is rebuilding? Is he thinking? Is he just not realized that he ain't maxed out? I'm not sure. Like, he could have more units. Okay, there we go. More Ultras and Corruptors. But then you just start those units. Do you really want to go now? I guess Zoun obviously is only mining and building more stuff of his own as the Corruptors are going to start flying through. The Ultras are doing a good job of buying time on the ground. As Prismatic pops, I mean, the Corruptors should try and stay away from the Void Rays, but it might just not matter at all, as Serral does just have too much. And that is going to be Zoun without really an option any longer. Nice Disruptor shot for an Infestor, but it's not going to make the difference, of course, in the game. Serral is going to find himself taking this series 2-1 in the best of 3, and he will live to play tomorrow, which is when this qualifier will continue again. This is the last game, or the last round of the qualifier play today, so the qualifier for Korea resumes tomorrow, and after the Korean qualifier tomorrow, we start the European qualifier as well. There's the GG from Zoun, and Serral does win this 2-1, advancing to that next round tomorrow, as previously mentioned.